Look, I completely understand your frustration. Every time you sit down to look at and evaluate a new potential investment property, you end up with a desk full of papers everywhere, probably writing comps on back of a napkin, and just hoping to have all this information together, basically recreating the wheel every single time to try and evaluate a deal and keep up with all your notes that you're evaluating each and every single deal with. Well, I want to let you know there is a better way, and it simply comes down to having a property investment worksheet. And so if you've never heard this term before, I want to break down today what a property investment worksheet is, why you need one, and I want to even share my very own property investment worksheet that you can start using in your own business today. Welcome back to another episode of Empire Your Life. And on today's episode, I want to break down the importance of having a property investment worksheet and why you need one in your business today. And so today I want to talk about what a property investment worksheet is, why you need one, and I even want to break down my very own property investment worksheet while we're going through this information. So for starters, what is a property investment worksheet? Well, very, very simple. A property investment worksheet is simply a document or a worksheet for you to put all the information pertaining to a particular deal. Because, like I mentioned before, in the past, I used to have information for deals all over the place. I'd have some on sticky notes on my desk, I'd have some in my phone, some in my computer, some I wouldn't even write down. Information was everywhere, and that system was not working. And so what I decided is it's so important for me to have a property investment worksheet so I can put all of this information into one place that I could easily find and also reference at a later time if needed. Because we all know, even though you're looking at a deal right now, that doesn't mean you're going to buy it right now. And so 3, 4, 6 months from now, you want to be able to reference back to that information, know exactly what your train of thought was, and be able to get a new offer, or a first offer on that property at that time. And so a property investment worksheet simply is a place to put all of the information pertaining to a deal in one place. And so why do you need it? Well, I just sort of went over that, but why you need it is because it is going to make you so much more efficient in your business. Because think about it, if I spend all this time, trying to find the information that I already looked up, but I spend all this time trying to look through my phone, my computer, notes on my desk to find that information, I'm wasting valuable time that I could be doing something else in the business, or I could be doing something else with my life instead of looking for the same information that I already spent time doing. And so the reason to have one is simply to save yourself time to where when you're ready to make that offer, you know exactly where to go to look at that information and have everything in one place to make it very easy to look at, understand, and make a quick decision. And so now, what are some things that should be included in your property investment worksheet? Well, a worksheet for somebody, for you might be different than me, but there are some similar things that no matter who you are, you need to have certain information on your worksheet. And during this video, if you would like, I'm actually going to offer you a chance to go ahead and purchase my very own property investment worksheet. So if you click the link in the description below at any time during this video, it'll bring you over to empireyourlifestore.com, and so you can get your very own copy. And a copy that you're going to get is going to be in a PDF version that is actually fillable right from your computer or your tablet. You can also print that document and bring it with you on a clipboard if you choose to do it that way as well. But I want to go over some details that are on my worksheet right now and some information that you should be considering every time you evaluate a deal. And so I'm going to go ahead and pull it up on the screen now as we're going through it. All right, so just to make things easy for reference, at the top of your worksheet, you should always put the address of the property. This is going to be your subject property, and this is going to be the main point of reference that you're going to know what property is this worksheet relating to? And so at the very top of your worksheet, make sure you have the property address. I also like to put the asking price there. And if you have a bigger team, if you have more people that are evaluating deals other than just yourself, there's also a good place there that you can put your evaluator name, so that way you know who is actually doing the evaluation on that particular property. And of course, a date is always a good reference point as well. And our next section on my worksheet is your lead source. And this is super, super important because you want to know if your advertising efforts are working. Are you doing, ads on the side of the road? Are you doing TV ads, radio ads? Are you doing a lot of website inquiries? Are you getting leads from wholesalers? It's important to know where your leads are coming from, because you'll find that, if you're getting 90% of your leads from roadside signs, well, you should probably double down and do more roadside signs. And so that's why it's so important that you know where your leads are coming from, so you can adjust your advertising as necessary. Now, of course, with your lead source, you also want to be able to put who your contact person is for that particular subject property. Whether it's a wholesaler, might be a real estate agent, or directly with the seller. Whoever it is, have that contact information at the top, and that way you can stay in contact with that person, especially if you have any further questions. And when it comes time to write an offer, you want to know who to send it to. Some other things too you want to think about is just having the basic information on the property. And this will include what neighborhood the property is in, the square footage, the beds, the baths, what type of siding is on the property. Is it, actual like wood siding? Is it brick? What is the outside of that property made of? What kind of foundation? Is it pier and beam or slab? What year was it built? Which will tell you a ton about the property, because if it is an older property, you can almost bet that you're going to have issues with potential termites, maybe foundation issues, electrical might be outdated. Different things come up in these older properties. And so, it's going to sort of let you know if, you got to worry about other things too, like asbestos, after, a prior time, long time ago, a lot of these properties are made with asbestos products. So if it's an older property, you have a good chance of having that in there, which you better put in some money in the renovation costs to be able to remedy that issue as needed. Also, what kind of parking you have, if it's a carport or garage, is there a pool on the lot? Is it above ground, is it underground? What type of pool, what type of condition is it in? Your annual expenses. It's going to be very important to understand what your expenses are on property, because, for example, if a house is in a certain area of your city, the property taxes may be sky high. And, if you look at that number, that may completely throw off your evaluation of what you were originally thinking. And so very important that you know what the taxes are, the insurance, is there an HOA fee? Another big one, especially down here in South Louisiana where I am, is if the property has flood insurance or not. And this could be a huge factor on if you're able to sell that property or not. And if you're keeping it as a rental property, that flood insurance will cut drastically into your overall cash flow. And so those are some very important expenses that you need to keep track of and need to know as you're evaluating a property. The next section on here is going over some general questions. Now, these questions are things that just should serve as reminders that you should ask the agent, the wholesaler, the seller as you're going through this process, that will help you to get more and more information to make more educated decisions. And for starters, you want to know what the occupancy status is. Is it vacant? Is it seller occupied, tenant occupied? That's going to let you know sort of what kind of condition that property might be in, but also how easy is it going to be for you to go and take a look at the property, or how easy is it going to be for you to get contractors in there to get estimates on that particular property. How long has the seller owned the property? Why does the seller want to sell the property? This is a huge one because there could be some underlying issues, which is the reason the seller is trying to sell. And it might be something with the property, but it may just be something personal as well. But knowing why they want to sell can make a big difference and potentially can draw some red flags for you, so you can know what to look for as you're evaluating and taking a closer look. Are there any current or expected offers on the property? This is a great question to ask, because if there's a lot of activity on the property, well, you may need to go in a little bit stronger with your initial offer than what you were thinking. to where if there's not a lot of activity, you can typically go in with a low ball offer and try and get the best deal that you possibly can. And so, knowing the activity and how many offers are going on that property is a huge, huge thing to know, especially when it comes time to writing your offer. You can also ask the seller if there's any specific terms that they may be more interested in, because believe it or not, it may not always be money. So really, a lot of times, if they're able to break even, they're happy with that if they're in a bad enough distressed situation. But other terms that they may be considering besides price might be, maybe they need help moving to their next location. Maybe that might be a moving van. Maybe they need storage in between moving to the next place. It may even be help actually getting into a new property, whether it's a rental property or apartment, whatever it might be. And so they may need some assistance with that. And so, asking them if there's any other terms or anything else that you can do as the buyer to help them and to make your offer look that much better. Having that information will, has saved me thousands of dollars over the years. Thousands and thousands of dollars over the years has saved me just by asking that question, because I was able to come in a lot lower on price and maybe help them in other ways. Maybe put them in one of our other rental properties, or be able to, call on some friends that could help them move, and was able to get it at a better price by doing so. And so that's a very important question to ask. Another one to consider too is to ask the seller, especially if you're dealing with them directly, have they considered trying to get a short sale approval on that property? And this could be huge for you as the buyer, because if you already thought you might be getting a good deal, but then you're able to negotiate a short sale, which is where the bank is willing to take less than what's owed on the property. And at the end of the day, as long as the seller breaks even, they're usually happy with that. But you can make an offer and get it accepted less than what's owed and end up with a stellar deal on the property. And so that's a good question to ask to see if that process has been started, entertained, or is even an option in the particular situation. Also, in your worksheet, you want to have a place that you can keep track of all the renovation estimates that you're thinking on a property. Now, this will start as soon as you start on your desktop analysis of the property. Before you even get there, you can start making notes and estimates on what might need to be done just based on the MLS description, or maybe a phone call with the agent or the seller. And then once you get to the property, you can fill in more numbers, more information as you're doing your walkthrough to come up with a full estimate, a good estimate of what you think it might be to get that property from where it is today to top value. Now, your rehab number is going to be a very important number, and that has to be included on your worksheet in order to come up with a good offer price of where you want to end up. Of course, comps, anytime you're looking at, buying an investment property to potentially sell for a profit or use as a rental property, very important that you look at comps. You need to know what properties are active in the area, which ones are pending, and especially which properties are sold, because that number is going to help you to back into your after repair value, which can really start to give you what your true equity is in the property, or your potential equity in the property after it's fixed up. On my worksheets, I always like to leave a scratch area as well, because I am known for basically making notes and scratching out and doing this and doing that, trying to come up with exactly what I want my offer to be and where exactly those numbers might lie for a particular deal. And sometimes it takes some work and you have to make some notes. And so on my worksheets, I love to have a place to be able to scratch in that information and just sort of use as a general note type area. And just like any great worksheet, you have to have a place to where you can summarize all the information that pertains to that deal that you're evaluating. And you want to bring in all those numbers from your asking price, what the as-is value might be right now before renovations, what your target purchase price might be, your renovation estimate that you were able to calculate, your after repair value that you were able to do using comps, and of course what your potential exit strategy might be. Is it a certain dollar amount that you're trying to make on it as a flip, or is it a certain dollar amount of cash flow that you're trying to make per month or per year? And so having that exit strategy at the end is going to be great as well. Also, having a place to track your offers is important on the worksheet, because if you go ahead and write your first offer and let's say it gets rejected, well, now you're at a second offer, a third offer, and you keep going. Well, after a while there, you're going to start to lose track of exactly, what did I make on that? What did I send on that first offer? And what was the response? And it's very important to keep track of that information, because as you go through the process, you'll be able to continue to tweak and change your offers to hopefully eventually buy that deal. And so keeping track of the offers and having a place to do that is important on the worksheet as well. And I always like to put my property outcome at the end, and this may be where I picked up the property, but also a case of somebody else purchased the property as well. I want to mark down and say, hey, it was purchased by a third party and they ended up paying this amount, and you'll know that amount based on it being put into the MLS as a sold property. Or you can also take a little further step there and go to public records online, and you could find out exactly what that property sold for as well. And I like to see this number because let's say, for example, my offer on the property was $100,000 and it got rejected. Well, then I find out that it got sold shortly thereafter for $110,000. Well, that starts to let me know that I was $10,000 off of where I could have bought that property. Now, if you start to see a trend across a few properties to where you're getting beat by $5,000, $10,000 almost every time, well, that's telling you that you're probably going a little bit too low in your offers, and you need to start to raise your offers a little bit if you're going to get some properties. And so having that outcome there is just a great tool for you to start keeping track of what you're doing, so you can make adjustments in your offers to where you can get more deals. Because at the end of the day, we all want to get more deals and want to get better deals, but we do need to get deals. So I hope you enjoyed running through that worksheet with me here today. And of course, you can get your very own copy if you hop on over to empireyourlifestore.com or click the link in the description below and it'll take you right there. But go ahead and get the worksheet today. You'll notice immediately that it'll start to make a difference in your business and in your life, because it's going to free up so much time, and you'll have one place to put all this information, store all this information, and just make such great decisions on every single deal. And so as always, I hope you enjoyed. Make sure you hit that like button below. And as always, get out there and build your empire. Thank you so much for watching this video, and if you enjoyed all of this great content, look over to the videos to the side here, because they're exactly what you need to see next. So continue to get out there and build your empire.